One of the most important aspects of Battle for Dream Island is the challenges that are a feature of the competition format of the show. However, not all challenges are created equal, as some are better or worse than others. That's what we're here for today, as I determine the best and worst among them by ranking every single one, all the way from BFDI 1 to Teapot 2. We'll be going in order of episode release, and the video will be split into 3 parts. Part 1 will cover BFDI, the original season, Part 2 will cover BFDIA and pre-split BFB, and Part 3 will cover post-split BFB and Teapot, and that last part will have a ranking of every challenge at the very end. Just make sure to keep in mind that I'm ranking based solely on the challenges, and not any other aspects of the episode really. Before we do though, I would like to remind you all to subscribe and make sure you have notifications on. It would be much appreciated. Take the Plunge. The episode that started it all. This episode features 2 challenges, the balance beam from the first part and the boat race from the second, and I'll be ranking them separately. The thing about these early challenges is that they tend to be on the simpler side of things, so these 2 are pretty self-explanatory. Out of these 2, the boat race is definitely the most interesting one, but I doubt it'll keep the top spot for very long. Barriers and Pitfalls. The second episode features an obstacle course, but with a twist. All of the teammates that make it to the end have to fill a scale with water, and whichever team collects more water wins the challenge. Definitely more interesting than the last one, so I'll be putting it at the top so far. Are you smarter than a snowball? This episode's challenge is a test. A written test, to be exact. Which isn't a very interesting premise, to be honest. I don't have much else to say about this one, but I'm not a huge fan of it. Bottom of the list. Sweet Tooth. This challenge is to make a cake. Another fairly uninteresting premise. At least this time, the cakes actually look like they would taste good. For that reason, it goes between each of episode 1's challenges. Bridge Crossing. This is easily the least interesting challenge thus far. Said challenge is exactly what is said in the title of the episode. They cross a bridge. I do appreciate the tiebreaker being to break an actual tie though. For that, it goes above Are You Smarter Than a Snowball's challenge, but below Sweet Tooth's. Power of 3. This episode is kind of another obstacle course, but with different obstacles. It's also a race at the same time. There are teams within teams, as the announcer puts it, and the ultimate objective is to open a locked door at the end of the course. I honestly slightly prefer this one to the last obstacle course, so it's going to the top of the list so far. Puzzling Mysteries. This one is significantly weaker than the last. It's them putting together a giant 9-piece puzzle. Bottom of the list, not much to say about this one. Cycle of Life. Here is yet another race, but with another twist. This time, each of the 5 selected members has to carry the next one who will run, and the last one will run normally. Definitely more interesting than last episode's challenge. In fact, it goes between Barrier and Pitfalls and Power of 3. Insectophobe's Nightmare. The title of the episode would suggest that the challenge would have something to do with bugs. However, the actual challenge is yet another race, but a 3-legged race, or more accurately, a 9-legged one. Not even 10 episodes in when we already have 5 challenges that are more or less a race. Let's hope that we don't have too many more of these. Oh, I just realized why it's called that. It's because bugs have lots of legs, and the challenge is about having a bunch of legs. Yeah, that actually makes a lot of sense now that I think about it. Above Bridge Crossing, but below the balance beam. Crybaby! This episode is the first since episode 1 to have 2 challenges in the same episode. The first is to see who can cry the most tears, but then the announcer decides that since everyone had some tears in their buckets, they all tied, so they do yet another race. Yay! The race is still better than a crying challenge though, so the ski race goes above Bridge Crossing, while crying goes to the bottom of the list. Lofty. Finally, a challenge that isn't just another variation of a race. In this one, the contestants have to pop balloons that keep the other teams afloat, which is actually a pretty creative challenge idea, especially compared to the last few. I like it. Second place as of now, just behind the power of 3.
Our leg up in the race.
We're back to races again, but this time they're vertical. More specifically, the contestants have to get to the top of a ladder before the others can do the same. I'm very tired of races at this point though. Just above bridge crossing. Don't lose your marbles. Try to find a red ball this time. That is the objective for this one. Basic, but a decent idea nonetheless. I'm putting it right below Sweet Tooth. Half a loaf is better than none. This one is the first rejoin challenge. To be more specific, the challenge in this one is to collect as many loaves of bread as you can, and whoever collects the most loaves wins. It ends up being spongy. Cloudy would be proud. Decent idea, putting it above Insectophobe's Nightmare. Vomitaco. Here we have another episode that features 2 challenges, the final such episode as of Teapot 2. The Taco Challenge is just a duplicate of the Cape Challenge from episode 4, while the Barf Bag Challenge is more interesting. In this one, they have to try to knock their opponents into what was, initially, colored water. A bit gross, but at least it's original. The Barf Bag Contest goes above the ski race, while the Taco Contest goes above bridge crossing. Bowling, now with explosions. Despite the name, there are no explosions in this episode. It's just bowling. Then contestants can deduct points based on how many pins they knock down. Not the worst challenge ever, but it's incredibly basic. Second verse same as the first, ranking just above bridge crossing. The Reveal. This episode features a frisbee throwing contest. Honestly, I don't have much to say about this one. Just above last episode is where it goes in the ranking. Reveal Novum. The cliff jumping contest doesn't count since that was just a tiebreaker. The main contest is a staring contest, more specifically in the form of a tournament bracket, which is a decent way to set it apart. Just below the ski race is where it goes. Rescission. Oh joy, yet another race. At least it's been 7 episodes since the last one, so I'll allow it. In this one, it's a unicycle race. That's all. Just below Reveal Novum. Gardening Hero. This one has absolutely nothing to do with gardening, so I have no idea why it's called that. Maybe there's some kind of subtext like there was with BFDI 9, but I don't know what it is. What it is about is avoiding death in outer space. The last object standing then chooses someone else to be safe. Everyone starting out with immunity is a nice twist as well. Above the balance beam. The Glistening. In this episode is a long jump contest. Another basic challenge idea, but it works well enough in my opinion. I'll put it above the Reveal. Don't Pierce My Flesh. In this episode, the contestants have to escape a volcano. I would complain that it's technically a race, but at least it's visually distinct from the other ones thanks to the setting. I think I'm gonna put it above the ski race. Hurtful. The final challenge of the first season is yet another race. However, the twist this time is that it also includes a shrunken down version of each of the previous contests. I think that does it enough to set it apart from the other races. That'll put it above half a loaf. And that's a wrap on part 1 of the ranking. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If all goes well, part 2 will release on October 14th, with another unrelated video on the 7th, and then part 3 on the 28th, after yet another unrelated video on the 21st. So stay tuned for all of those. But for now, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.